We feel so privileged to have you come and sit with us as we hope to have a conversation that is both informative and lively and productive. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to the Nova Southeastern University Fischler School of Education Dean, Dr. Wells Singleton, who will give you.
Thank you, and a very special welcome to all of you, particularly those of you from the community at large, and our very, very special friends at FASCD. We have several initiatives with you, and we're very proud of that relationship. And of course, I saved the best for last, and that is our very good partners and friends at Miami-Dade Schools, the #1 school district in the country. Now, we have relationships with about 200 school districts around the country. So I always have to be careful how I say that. But I can tell you that I don't say it about any other school district except this one and the superintendent, who's a fabulous leader. On the other hand, let me tell you that on behalf of George Hambury, the president of Nova Southeastern University, and Dr. Hambury Board of Trustees, I bring you welcome and very thankful that you're here. This campus is a standalone education campus, which is very unique in the United States. In fact, I think we're the only one with about 430 employees who report here, all of whom are not housed here, but they do report here. And we are a main part of North Miami Beach and Miami-Dade County. And we're very, very proud of it. We have approximately 14,000 students with this unit alone, primarily located across the United States, undergraduate and graduate, although about 80% of our students are graduate level, and indeed around the world. So we are a very, very big operation, and I'm very proud that some of my colleagues who are here today are part of a team that is very nimble, very flexible, ready to move. So on that note, having given my plug, I say that because we're part of your community and you're part of our community. And I am very proud to be here with you today. So thank you very much for being here. This is going to be a very dynamic, very exciting day for you. I'm going to reintroduce Lois, and then she'll do the honors of the special guests.
Thank you. At the core of our work here at Nova is 8 core values, of course, with a vision and a mission. And central to those values are community, student-centered, and service. And we are so proud this morning that we have the opportunity to gather this community to have a conversation about our children. Our expectation is that when you leave today, that you will have a heightened commitment to serving your community, to serving our children, and that you will have new ideas about how that can happen. Joining us, as Dr. Singleton has said, are some special guests that I'd like to take time to introduce you to at this moment. We have Dr. Jean Carter, who is the Executive Director and CEO, and is really the convener of the Whole Child Initiative. Dr. Carter, would you wave, please? We have the President of FASCD, Dr. Deborah Hill. The President of the Florida FASCD, Ms. Alina Davis. Joining us also this morning is School Board Member of Miami-Dade County Public Schools, Dr. Larry Feldman. And of course, we have our NOVA administration that has joined us. We have Dr. Jamie Lambert who's here, and Dr. Tara Salzman. My Executive Director of the National Institute for Educational Options here at NOVA, Dr. Judith Stein. Our breakfast sponsor this morning was Pearson Learning, and we'd like to thank the representative who is here, Gerald Flournoy. Are there any other other elected officials that are, that's here this morning? Okay, thank you. And with that, we'll get started with the conversation. And so, Donna, want to come up? Okay.
Can you guys hear me? Yes. Okay. Before I introduce Dr. Carter, I'd like to thank Nova Southeastern University for hosting our first ever whole child community conversation here in Florida. So Dr. Singleton, if you could come up here for a moment, please. On behalf of Florida ASCD, we would like to present Nova Southeastern University with this plaque in recognition and appreciation for hosting a whole child community conversation in advocacy for healthy, safe, engaged, supported, and challenged young people. Thank you for
Just to depart from the script for just a moment, this is more meaningful than you can possibly imagine. I want to ask a very dear friend, I'm going to get emotional here, Dr. Judy Stein, to please come up here. I haven't seen Judy. She's a very, very dear friend. I haven't seen her for far too long because our paths have not crossed directly, right across the street from each other. So this is my opportunity to say in front of witnesses, Judy, I love you very much. And so this plaque, this plaque in large measure is because the organization she heads up, which is such an integral part of all that we do here at the Fisher School. So again, thank you very much. Very, very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Welcome everyone to an event where people who care about children can collaborate together and send a powerful message out to the community about educating the whole child. I am Alina Davis, president of Florida ASCD. I'm also a classroom teacher in Orange County Public Schools, working toward becoming a school administrator through Florida State University. Part of my inspiration to pursue a degree in educational leadership came out of the relationships that I have built with ASCD affiliate leaders all over the world. I have learned that with the collective support of people who care and the passion in my heart to provide each child a whole child education, I can make a difference. Dr. Carter is one of those individuals who has ignited my aspiration towards educational leadership. Dr. Carter is the executive director and CEO of ASCD, a nonprofit, nonpartisan professional organization with 140,000 members in 134 countries and with 56 affiliates, one of the largest education organizations in the world. He is a veteran educator with experiences including classroom teacher, school administrator, superintendent, and university professor. Dr. Carter served 9 years as the superintendent of schools for Norfolk, Virginia. He was successful in reducing the dropout rate, building a partnership program with the private sector, implementing a district-wide school improvement program, establishing an early education center for 3-year-olds and their parents, and creating a regional scholarship foundation for public school students. His service to community, business, and civic organizations includes serving on the board of directors for Norfolk Southern Corporation, the American Bar Association Advisory Commission on Public Education, the America-Israel Friendship League Education Advisory Committee, the Education Commission of the State Advisory Board, National Commission on Service Learning, the National Commission on Asia in the Schools, and the Longview Foundation Board of Directors. Dr. Carter has received many honors and awards, including the Distinguished Alumni Award from Teachers College, Columbia University. He was selected as the very first National Superintendent of the Year by the American Association for School Administrators. He is listed among who's who among Black Americans, and 3 times was named one of the top 100 executive educators in North America by the Executive Educator magazine. He has written numerous articles and book chapters concentrating on educational issues and topics, including being the co-author of The American School Superintendent, Leading in an Age of Pressure. Dr. Carter has participated in international educational seminars in 21 countries and has led professional delegations in 7. While each of these accolades alone is quite impressive, the most remarkable is that Dr. Carter is disseminating a message around the world that calls each one of us to rethink our vision of education, to redefine what is seen as successful learning and how we measure that success. Dr. Carter and ASCD are leading this change, and they are inviting us to join in this important work. It is with great honor to introduce to you the convener of the Whole Child Initiative, an initiative that can change the world by each community ensuring that each child is healthy, safe, engaged, supported, and challenged. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Jean Carter.
Thank you very much. I hadn't imagined that the introduction was going to be longer than my comments, but the wisdom that was articulated by Alina, much appreciated, and I only wish my grandchildren had been here to hear what their granddad is all about, because sometimes they question the work that I do and the time that I spend away from them. Let me say at the beginning of my comments that it's indeed a pleasure to be in South Florida. Being in South Florida at this time of the year is the greatest place in the world to be. When you come from north of here, where there is snow, where the temperature is dipping well below freezing, and to think that you can wake up and see the sunshine, view the water, where it's 70+ degrees, and the people are so radiant and pleasant. I want to share with you just a story very quickly that provides a backdrop for my comments. When I was superintendent in the dinosaur age, I was visiting an elementary school, and it was during the time that our teachers were beginning to explore the blended learning proposition. And students were being engaged in novel sorts of interactive ways. And I happened to be visiting on a morning where they were recapitulating the work that they had been doing around the life of Socrates. And the teacher had mentioned briefly to me that they were going to be summarizing what they had learned in their own words. And so she began, and she identified youngsters in the class and asked what had they learned about Socrates. And she called upon one young man, and he said Socrates was a great philosopher, and he said a few other things. And then she called on another young lady, and she said, and he was a great speaker and thinker. And she added to that. And then in the back of the room, and the kids were not in rows, they were in sort of a semicircle. And he said, Socrates talked a lot, and his friends poisoned him. So I sort of brought that adage to the construction of my remarks, because I was told that I should be brief and to the point, that the focus was actually going to be on the conversation. I want to just share some thoughts with you that center around what we at FASCD feel is the most important proposition and most important opportunity that we have, not only as educators, but as citizens of this country and citizens of the world. And it interfaces nicely with the whole child conversation. Our focus has been, and will continue to be, on transitioning from a focus on teaching to a focus on learning. Because we think that that is the formula, if you will, to success. That a part of our mission, in addition to serving the needs of each child, it is to ensure that each child experiences a successful learning experience. And that was the primary motivation for the association embarking on the Whole Child Initiative. Not to downgrade the significance of the academic dimension of the learning experience. The research that we were exposed to then, and this was 5+ years ago and moving forward, affirms the fact that there is a correlation between academic success and being healthy, being safe, being engaged, and being supported. And so we set out to ascertain whether or not that was a proposition that not just we as educators believed in and supported, but the broader community, potentially at least, not only would embrace, but we would be empowered to work with us to pursue. And so we convened a commission that was much broader than academe, but included persons from the health arena, from the social emotional arena, from the community sector, from the business sector, and also from the philanthropic community. And we raised one question, and raising one question is unusual for educators. We raised one question, and we said, if you were starting from scratch, knowing what you know, and with the vision that you have in mind for what we ought to be doing to help young people prepare for a bright future, where would you start? And what would you do? And that meeting took place over the course of 4 days. And it was illuminating to hear from them, not necessarily using the same terminology that we had identified, but the fact that they felt that we all ought to be about addressing the needs of children. And later we added each child in a holistic fashion. And that led us to begin our journey. 2 or 3 years after that first commission, we formed another commission, because the intent was to see if we had been true to what grew out of that first series of meetings, and to ascertain how we might improve upon the proposition as we continue to move forward. And the second commission said, the work is moving along nicely, but there's a gap. And the gap was, and it was not stated exactly like this, but this captures the essence. The gap was that you need to strengthen the advocacy role as it relates to not just fostering the need, but emboldening a broader multi-sectorial entity to work with you to pursue this notion. And so that's what we've been about over the last couple of years. I want to suggest to you maybe 3 or 4 propositions. The first one, that learning is what prepares young people for meaningful citizenship, employment, post-secondary education, and probably most importantly, participation in the global society. That learning is developmental. It's based upon an array of meaningful experiences, and particularly in today's time, learning is not restricted to time or space, adult qualification or status, intent or accident. The second proposition has to do with the role of schools. And Deborah and I, our president and yours truly, both come to our present positions within FASCD, having served as superintendents, and also the other stepstone experiences leading, in most cases, to the superintendency. The second proposition I've alluded to, and that is shifting the conversation from teaching to learning, and all that that implies. Does not diminish the significance of teaching, but we're about learning. And so the tagline for our organization begins with learning, followed by teaching, and ending with leading. We think that those are the three key propositions that not only serve as a grounding for the whole child, but the work that we do more specifically. The third proposition relates specifically to schools. If you think about schools, schools today have direct contact with more than 95% of our nation's people, young people, aged 5 through 17. They have contact with that cohort of young people for about 6 hours a day on average, and for up to 13 critical years of their social, psychological, physical, and intellectual development. But there is a but in that proposition. A child's education does not occur exclusively in school, nor should it. Nor does it take place in a vacuum. And hence the backdrop for this conversation. Because we're each emboldened to be here because we have a common set of goals, but we approach those goals perhaps from different propositions, from different directions. But they're all centered around meeting a specific need. So, the third proposition is we're about revolutionizing the way we learn and the way we work. Now, what does that mean? When you speak of being a revolutionary, in many instances, people project that you're going to be renegades, that you're going to do things that are disruptive, and that you are going to deliberately shift your motion from the mainstream into alternative streams. All of that's true, and to an extent, it's needed within our profession. We have to move aggressively away from tradition-bound practice. The success of the Miami-Dade School District is about revolutionizing the way you work, think, and lead. The Miami-Dade School District would not be at the top of the heap today if it were still focused on doing things the way they'd always been done. The same is true with our organization, the same is true with the broader profession, and the same thing is true with life. We all have rich legacies, but those legacies serve as a benchmark, and they also provide an opportunity to build upon a rich array of success stories. And so we think that telling the story is a part of revolutionizing the way we think and work. If you don't believe, you're not going to achieve, and if you don't achieve, you're not going to succeed. And so telling the story, continuing to promote the notion that each child can learn. Each adult can learn, because learning is not restricted to young people. We all are learners in today's scheme of things. We all are expected to grow. And specifically, as educators, we have to be about growing that learning and redirecting the development of new knowledge ecosystems within the fabric of our work. So, the last proposition that I want to share with you is that Miami-Dade is in a unique position. You have multiple examples of community-based organizations that have chosen, for all of the right reasons, to partner with you. Because they, like you, know that it takes a partnering sort of effort to meet the challenges and, more specifically, address the opportunities to ensure that each child learns today. Now, anytime you begin to delineate a list, you're bound to miss someone or an organization. But since I'm going home this evening, I'm going to list those that come to my mind, and you can beat up on other people because I won't be here. But there are a couple, 6 or so in fact, that ring a bell in my mind. And it's because I've done a little reading and I've tried to keep up with how partnerships are being forged throughout school districts in this country and perhaps outside of this country. So a couple of the organizations that I'm going to mention, I think, are at the top of the heap with regards to working with your school district as I understand it. One is the Big Brothers, Big Sisters Association, organization. I happen to have had a direct relationship with the Big Brothers organization when I was superintendent. The second is Teach for America, a very unique organization that brings a unique perspective to the partnership. Breakthrough Miami is another. City Year, Miami Bridge, College Summit, and there are others. Now, interestingly, each of these has been recognized not only regionally, but beyond, and are being held as models that other districts, other communities might choose to emulate. With regards to these and other community agencies or organizations, I would suggest to you that through your shared vision and your strategic collaboration, you are harnessing the independent elements of your community around your most prized and shared responsibility, your children. And I applaud your work and commitment to serving the common good in your respective communities, and would admonish you to keep up the good work, because the benefits, the payoff, if you will benefit each of us. Lastly, I would urge you to keep this particular thought in mind, and maybe it, in addition to looking at the specifics of a whole child arrangement, I think these propositions that are summed up in this last observation are really the kernel of what community conversations, particularly in our country, ought to be today. One of the experiences that I've had in visiting most of the countries throughout the world is that in the emerging successful countries the South Koreas, the Singapores, the Finlands, and so forth. Education is revered. Education is on par with other professions. It is held in high esteem. We as a country have room to grow in that regard. In your community, that element is present, but it is not systemic throughout this country. And so I would suggest to you that the demands of the 21st century require a new approach to education to fully prepare each student for college, career, and citizenship, and that a whole child approach to education addresses students' comprehensive needs through the shared responsibility of students, families, schools, and communities. That together, you and I, the collective we, can make this vision of a system focused on learning the reality for each child. By expanding learning opportunities, we can ensure that each child is safe academically, emotionally, and physically, and that he or she may participate in active, authentic, experiential learning opportunities. And that if in a collective mode, together, we can eliminate the barriers of time, money, geography, role, and expertise to ensure that each child may learn in pace with his or her development. In short, each child will be successful because we will apply the whole child template to form the set of experiences and the set of expectations that go with successful learning. So I look forward to having a role in the conversation today. None of us is exclusively knowledgeable about all propositions, but collectively we can bring to the table most of what the research suggests, most of what you found to be successful experiences, but most importantly, the commitment, the perseverance, and the desire to continue to improve. So thank you very much. I look forward to chatting with each of you. And again, congratulations to the community agencies represented and to the wonderful school district that you have in Miami-Dade County. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Carter, for your leadership, and we honor your presence here. Thank you. Okay, now, Florida ASCD would like to recognize a leader who is taking action right here in Miami. Superintendent Alberto Carvalho has made significant impact as the superintendent of Miami-Dade Public Schools. This month, he was awarded the 2013 Best Public Servant Miami Life Award for his extraordinary love and concern for the Miami-Dade community. Under Superintendent Carvalho's leadership, Miami-Dade was awarded the Broad Prize for Urban Education and is considered the nation's highest performing urban school system. To achieve this level of recognition requires collaboration, commitment, and continued support from the community to provide an education that builds a healthy, safe, engaged, supported, and challenged student. Furthermore, these students' successes as learners requires more than preparing for a test, but preparing for life. Superintendent Carvalho has demonstrated that educating a child for success involves sustaining a system where each child may be healthy, safe, engaged, supported, and challenged. I'll take just a few moments to highlight some of the successes. Healthy. In 2011, Miami-Dade Public Schools was recognized by President Bill Clinton for efforts in promoting nutrition and physical education for all students. Innovative programs included collaborating with community farms to provide fresh vegetables in the cafeteria, and many schools even grew their own vegetables to use in the meals that they prepare. Safe. In 2010, Superintendent Carvalho, in partnership with community stakeholders, created a comprehensive youth anti-violence plan, including MDCPS Cares, a mentoring program for at-risk youth. A youth violence prevention summit, parent workshops, and Speak Your Peace Youth Empowerment Summit were also developed. All Eyes, All Hands, All Hearts was a call to action for the entire community to take a stand against violence and make the commitment to social responsibility and shared ownership of the problem of violence. Sorry, this is driving me crazy. Okay. Engaged. Last month, Superintendent Carvalho was honored by the National Child Labor Committee with the Ronald H. Brown Award for Service to Children and Youth. He was recognized for his work in the district for creating equal access to high-quality education, moving from textbooks to digital content, and developing educational environments that engage students of the 21st century. Supported. Just last week, at the National Association for Bilingual Education Annual Conference, Superintendent Carvalho received the Mexican Government Otley Award for his dedication to forging a new path for others. In a district where 91% of children come from minority families, more than 50% of families are foreign-born, and about 75% speak a language other than English at home, Miami-Dade Public Schools achieved its most impressive high school graduation rate ever and saw students consistently outperforming their national peers on the National Assessment for Educational Progress. Under Superintendent Carvalho's leadership, great progress is being made in raising student achievement. Challenged. Working with local municipalities, Miami-Dade Public Schools developed the Schools of Innovation program, wherein personalized learning environments are designed to support student achievement in meeting high academic standards by utilizing an integrated curriculum design that prepares students for college and careers. Mr. Carvalho, you have worked tirelessly to serve the community and your students with a vision to focus on the whole child. Florida AFCD and AFCD thank you for your commitment and passion to educating the whole child. We would like to present you with an award as a token of our appreciation. Can I have my board members and Dr. Carter? I'll go ahead and read the award. It's from Florida AFCD, presented to Mr. Alberto Carvalho, Superintendent of Miami-Dade Public Schools, in recognition for your commitment to educating the whole child. Healthy, safe, engaged, supported, and challenged. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, number one, if I'm going to say a few things, if I'm going to speak for more than 2 minutes, I'd like a bottle of water at close reach. Thank you, Dr. Feldman. I listened carefully to the words that Dr. Carter spoke just a little while ago, and the most profound advice that I heard, and I no doubt will use in future conversations, is brevity is important, lest you suffer the same fate that Socrates did. I certainly appreciate the work of ASCD, the leadership, and the work of Florida ASCD, and this terrific award that's being bestowed on me. But this is, in fact, an award that recognizes the collaborative work of a caring community. This is not about Alberto receiving this award. This is about a community showing up, standing up, speaking up for every single child. Those who come ready to learn, those who do not arrive at schools with the readiness that we would hope for, those who are invisible to many around us, those who are fragile, living fragile lives in fragile environments. So receiving this award is receiving a recognition that honors the collective community in embracing every single child. I can tell you that we embrace certain principles here in Miami. We also embrace this concept of dramatically abandoning functions and resources that do not connect directly with children. Our determined focus on the child, our determined focus on learning drives our work and has driven our work over the past 4.5 years. I can say this to you, the most remarkable thing about Miami-Dade is that we took this journey from the impossible to the inevitable during the most dramatic times in our nation's history from an economic perspective. Anybody can tell you that when the money is available, when accountability pressures are not extreme, when there is no political discord or rhetoric on the national or state levels, probably educational reform is easy. The hard thing is getting it done in the middle of the worst economic recession the nation has seen in 64 years, and not allowing the skeptics and the naysayers to say it can't be done because you do not have enough stuff, enough money, enough resources, whatever that stuff is. The tough thing is to do it during a dramatically increased requirement on our teachers and our leaders. When rigor has ramped up, when the standards have changed and continue to change, when Common Core is upon us, when the graduation rate definition and standards have increased. Tough is to do it when we no longer operate in a monopoly of education. We have to navigate a highly competitive environment at a time when the competition is not necessarily fair. It advantages some at the expense of others. And with all that said, we stand proudly as a school system, in my opinion, as the beacon of hope and opportunity, not only for those who live in Miami-Dade, but a beacon of hope and opportunity for those across our country. Here's why this is so significant to me personally. Number one, as an American by choice, as an immigrant who came to this country at the age of 17 alone, whose first job was a day laborer, whose second job was a dishwasher, to become a teacher, a superintendent, and now share amongst you, along with my board member, the recognition and praise for simply having believed. As Dr. Carter said, from belief to achievement to success. So take it from me, if this can be done by me, by my team, in Miami-Dade, where poverty is as high as 75%, the most diverse community in America, it can be done anywhere. And the shame of our country is twofold. Number one is the failure to recognize that, in fact, this is no longer a choice to do it or not do it. It is a moral imperative. Lest we accept children dropping out, not graduating, and perpetuating a cycle of poverty that is generational. Secondly, and Dr. Carter alluded to this, is that the biggest difference between those other nations and us, those who we revere and look up to and look for solutions in their practice, and us, it's not necessarily just about effectiveness of teaching or the quality of teachers and administrators or the funding investment in education. It is a matter of principle, of values, how educators are valued, how they are seen. He said how they are revered, how they are respected, how they are looked up to. That, in my opinion, is the biggest difference. The biggest difference. Lastly, I'll say this. At a time in our country when we look abroad for all of the answers, at a time when we demonize ourselves, at a time when it seems that we have sort of lost our way, I tell you this. I still believe America is a nation of innovation. I still believe America is the moral compass to the world. But we will only sustain that position if we believe we are. And I also believe that rather than imitating and following a second-rate imitation of anybody else, I believe in forcing ourselves into the revolution, into the reinvention of America through effective education. This is about us not necessarily outperforming the rest of the world. This is about us outcompeting ourselves. We're not racing against anybody else. We are forcing ourselves to win on behalf of Americans' kids. So thank you very much for this award. It is significant for two reasons. Number one, I'm receiving it during a board meeting day. I can tell you it's probably the best moment of the day. No insult to my good friend, Dr. Larry Feldman. But most importantly, because it is given to us by colleagues. And there's nothing more precious than having your very own recognizing the work you do. So Alina, as a classroom teacher in Orange County, I really do appreciate your spirit and your belief in education. Jean, thank you for your years of service as an educator at many different levels, and now your terrific leadership leading FASCD, the board of FASCD, our good partners at Nova Southeastern University, Dr. Singleton and Judy Stein. We go back many, many years. A lot of their faculty were at one point our teachers, administrators, and still are. And of course, last but not least, I want to thank the community organizations that were recognized. I know if I thank all of them, I will fail because I will miss some. But I tell you, College Summit, Big Brothers Big Sisters, TFA, City Year, those who support Health Connect to keep our kids safe and healthy at all levels are invaluable partners in this journey that we call education. Thank you and God bless all of you.
What I would like for you to do at your table, we're just going to start with conversation one. Instead of going through each conversation, at your table, read them together and decide on one question that you want to answer. Okay, so we're going to go now, stay on conversation one, because it's the what. So the first one says, what does the phrase, to educate the whole child, mean to you? So you're reflecting based on who I am, my experiences, and my work, and my context, my concern, context of concern. What are your hopes and fears about educating the whole child? And then what experiences influence or have influenced you in your hopes and fears regarding the whole child? Okay? So you have somebody at your table who is versed in whole child at every table to help you out. So right now your task is to take one question from conversation one, discuss it as a table, and then we'll share.
And strategies so that we can keep the community involved. Everything is political. Your toothpaste is political. Everything is political. And as I listen to our political leaders, they don't have a very good perspective on the great job that you're doing. I know you're doing a great job because I've been in the trenches. But you've got to brag. You've got to vote for the representative. It goes to all government is local. The representative that understands what you're doing. And those are the people you need to get into these conversations. Because if that individual feels that cutting classroom activities, resources, and increasing student, and if they feel that there's too much government in your school already, then you're never going to make any progress. Think smart. Only elect individuals who understand the resources that you need and will go from here to Tallahassee and hit that ball.
Joint roundtable on youth safety. I got the honor of being able to co-facilitate the youth services work group with a colleague from the county. And I think it's kind of opening some doors. We're coming to the table and looking at all the wonderful services that are available, because I believe every one of these tenets is imperative. If we neglect any one of them, our kids will not be successful. But we will go back to the safety and well-being of all of our students. That's really at the core of what we do. But we're having this opportunity. These work groups are ongoing every Friday. The number of people who come together to engage in this conversation put their resources on the table, and I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about every type of resource, and then develop this common collective impact where we're looking at one area we need to address and how we can bring to the table our resources to address that area is where we need to head. And I think that this certainly can be expanded now that we've got people's attentions And other people are telling people, you need to be at her meeting on Friday. This is really important. But to expand and cover all of our tenants. So we've got some opportunities right now, and I hope that everybody will support in the engagement of those opportunities.
Thank you so much. And that is why we're here. And you wanted to say something real quick?
I want to make a comment about the school and the community. The most important thing, and I'm a former principal, retired, you must be friendly to your parents, and particularly the immigrant parents. They're afraid. So do all you can to get them in the classroom. I had a teacher once that said, I'm afraid of that parent. I will stop what I'm doing. I will come down there and participate in the conference. But we must draw the parents to us. And so they don't want to come to the school, some of them, not all of them. But you've got to be friendly, beginning with the teachers. Whatever you can to make them feel at home that this is my school, I'm here to teach this child, and that's the beginning.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And Dr. Carter?
I was really pointing to this lady in green who was trying to get your attention.
But I've never found a microphone that I didn't like. So I just wanted to echo one of the sentiments that combines the dialogue that has occurred. It's not an either or among the tenants with regards to providing for the whole child. Each is related to the other. Having said that, the various agencies and partnering entities who have spoken this morning may have unique skills, unique areas of focus, when integrated, are a significant force to help you who are in the schoolhouse, who are in school districts, in higher ed, wherever. And one of the other observations that came up at our table was, well, are we only talking about the child? Well, the child is the center of the constellation, but all of those other stars come into being. And so we reflect that radius, that broader radius that circumnavigates the child to ensure that he or she is going to be successful. And that won't happen if only I do it, if only you do it. It will happen if we do it collectively. So I'm going to leave here with greater admiration and also feeling the love and feeling the passion and also the admonition that you've expressed amongst yourselves that you're going to not only do the work, but you're going to guarantee that it becomes sustainable over time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And I can feel the excitement in the room about some new ideas that you have and some things you want to initiate. FASCD has some phenomenal resources. If you go to their wholechildeducation.org website, you can find the school improvement tool, which is basically a data collection tool where you can look at each tenant and see, you can put your perspective in as your stakeholder group. Your staff can do it. And then use that as a conversation piece to see what are the next steps you need to do to improve things. Deborah, you want to share?
Yes. And I'm Deborah Hall. I'm the Southeast Regional Program Manager for FASCD, and I'm Florida-based. And as we all know, I think everybody can hear me. As we know that when there's an election, where does everyone come? To Florida. So Florida we can start right here with what we've done today, and I can help and be your advocate through FASCD, your liaison, to help have more of these discussions, geographically, regionally in the state of Florida. And wouldn't it be amazing if Florida was the first to take the tenets of the whole child and show how we can collectively, as Dr. Carter said, connect the dots among all people. Because in order to have that whole child be successful, we all need to work together. To come together, work together, so everyone can be successful and learn from each other. And I'm here to help you do that in the state of Florida and in the Southeast. But let's start with Florida, let's start with Miami, and make it happen. Thank you.
And as Florida ASCD is here for you, we're here for you as well, and we can help walk you through the steps, finding the resources, advocating. You can bring resolutions to your municipalities. We're here to be a resource for you, and I am so appreciative to every one of you for taking the time to be here. Thank you for letting us be flexible with your time. Please stay in touch and focus on the whole child. Thank you.